Hello Year 5, happy Monday. So we're back to Monday with a new spelling rule, and we're not looking at suffixes this week, we're looking at homophones and near homophones. I'm just going to give you 10 seconds to think if you ever heard of the word homophones. I would have thought you would have come across it every year. Okay, so homophone means that they're words. So homophones are words that sound the same but have different meanings, okay, different spellings. So if we're thinking about a word like bread, okay, you can have bread that you eat, or you can say that I don't know, that somebody is well bred, so they come from a good family. That's quite an old-fashioned saying. But it could also be about that my friend's dad bred dogs, so about breeding dogs. Okay, so we've got words that sound the same or almost the same, but we need to be really clear about what the meaning is and then how we spell them slightly differently. So Mr. Whoops is unsure which word to use to complete this sentence. Can you help him? Miss Wong asked me to look in the stationery cupboard to find her a new pen because the one she had been using had run out. So we are looking at the word stationery. Now there are two different meanings of stationery. So for a car to be stationary or a person to be stationary, that means they keep still. Okay, so if you said in the police report the car was stationary and somebody ran into it, then it means the car was stood still, okay, wasn't moving. But then we also have the most common word that we use, or the most common version of stationery is the one that we use about having pens and pencils. So stationery would be things in your pencil case, and there might be letters in envelopes and things like that. And actually, to let you into a little secret, I wasn't really aware of this until I worked at about 22 in an office, and I was told as a reminder, if you're talking about stationery, it is the one that has an E in it. The person said to me, think about an envelope being a stationery, and that begins with E. So that's how I remember it. So if you're thinking about stationery in your pencil case, it's the one with an E in it. Every other letter is exactly the same. And if you're talking about something keeping still, it's an A. Okay, so it is stationery with an E because it's talking about a pen. Right, J.K. Rowling, whose books have sold millions of copies worldwide, does a lot of fantastic fundraising work for charity. So we've got whose and whose. We say them exactly the same. We've got to look at the difference between them. Now this one has a piece of punctuation in it. I wonder whether you can remember what that is. Okay, it's an apostrophe. And one of the things on my list to teach you, hopefully before you come back to school, is about how to use apostrophes correctly, because lots of you are not quite sure. Now, one of the main reasons we use an apostrophe is to shorten words or to join two words together, and it shows that some letters are missing. So this is short for who is. So the way of testing the sentence is to read it without the apostrophe and say, J.K. Rowling, whose books have sold. Now that doesn't make any sense. So it must be this one here. Okay, so whose. Okay, and then it says, can you join the words with a homophone or near homophone? So we have got stationary, steal, wary, whose, and fate. Okay, then over here we've got fate, steal, whose, stationary, and weary. Okay, so we know stationary and stationary go together. Remember the one with the E in it is about your pencil case. So think about pens and pencils and envelopes. That's why I remember it's got an E. Now we've got steal. Now that steal is about stealing something from somebody else. So I would not steal somebody else's lunch. It's not a nice thing to do. And that will go across to this steal. Can you think of another meaning of the word steal? Yeah, hopefully you've remembered that steel is a metal. It's a hard metal. So you need to think about which steel you're using, and you need to remember the spelling for it. So if you're stealing something, so taking something from somebody else or somewhere else, it's got the A in it. And then if you think of the metal, it's the double E. Now, this is one I hear quite often people say wrong, really. So we've got the word wary. If you're wary of something, it means you're quite nervous of it. You're not quite sure what to do. So I would be wary of going into an unlocked house that didn't belong to me. I wouldn't quite know what I was going to find. Okay, now this word, it's a near homophone, it sounds very similar, is weary. Do you know what the word weary means? So I feel weary. Yep, it means that you feel tired. So they're two words that sound similar. They're not exactly the same, okay, but they have a similar spelling. Weary's got an E in it, but wary is about feeling a bit unsure, and then weary is feeling tired. And then we've got whose, so this is who is, and then we've got whose here, it's maybe belonging to something, or it's telling you something about someone. Okay, so remember with that one, I would read the sentence and think, are you saying who is? And if you are, then you use that one. Then we've got fate and fate. Now this fate is all about what's meant to be. So quite often people say they believe in fate, whatever's going to happen. If I'm going to meet someone tomorrow, then it's meant to happen. Okay, and then we've got fate here, which is an old-fashioned word for maybe like a summer fair. So when I was at school, we say about the summer fete. So yeah. And it says, do you know the meanings of all of them? And I've just talked you through those. So again, we're looking at the words in red if you're doing the 5 spellings, and then everybody else is doing all 10. So if you're doing the ones in red, you need to be, again, really clear which steel is to steal something and which steel is the metal, and then whose and whose. So when somebody's testing you on these spellings, they're going to have to put it into a sentence for you to explain to you which spelling to use. Because if they just said the word stationery, you need to know more than that to work out whether you're going to put an A in it or an E. Okay, good luck.